I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. Tonight it will be the stars and cars of the iRacing Silver Crown Cup coming to you from Legacy Kentucky Speedway, Sparta, Kentucky. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth, as always, by Mr. Patrick Byrne. And I'll tell you what here, Bizzle, I think this show could be interesting. Drivers are talking about cooking off right side tires, fronts, rears, it don't matter. Little change in temperature could mean a lot. There's a lot of dynamics that are going to be in play as this race heads to qualifying.
Yeah, this track is going to be awesome. This track is going to be slick. This is some old pavement on this place, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers make their way around. Hopefully we don't end up with a situation like we just had at Bristol with these tires just melting apart.
You know what? Maybe that might be a little bit of fun, though, to have to watch these drivers try to control tire wear. That's something that I don't think iRacing will ever be able to model, was the level of tire carnage we saw yesterday in the NASCAR Cup Series race at Bristol Motor Speedway. But the drivers are going to have to do a little bit of that here anyway, because with what we were hearing about how even small temperature fluctuations, 3 or 4 degrees, made some setups nearly undrivable, and even the cars that did feel good didn't feel real good in the process. If we get some cloud cover over the racetrack and the temperature drops, that's just as big of a deal as getting full sunshine and the track temp going up.
Yeah, these drivers having a weight jacker to play with definitely makes it a little bit easier to change to the changing track conditions, but at the same time, it doesn't offer you that much difference. I mean, I've been in races where I've gone all the way to one end or the other and wish there were 20 more notches to click off.
Well, how about this one? Zach Scott Nicky, new quick time, 30.000 seconds. I don't think Zach Scott Nicky thought he would have pole position pace as he heads into this race tonight, but who knows? We'll see what he does here. Lap number 2 coming up for Larry Pace. He's up to third quick, 30.030. New quick time, Josh Batista in car number 9, 29.935. Zach Scott Nicky second quick at a 29.975. Derek Love finishing up his qualification run. He's going to be up into the third position. Let's pick up Thomas Lewandowski working lap number 2 off of turn 4. He was 6 quick on the board after lap number 1. Lap number 2, we'll see car number 4 move up to third quick, 29.997 seconds. Steven Protzman on the board as Todd Taylor completes his run. Let's pick up River Hayes in car number 3. He's number 3, but the car number is 81 on the racetrack. The Team Watson Racing setup entry working through 3 and 4. A little bit disappointing. Lap 1 for Hayes, 30.133 as James Watson moves up to second quick, 29.959 seconds. Lap number 2 for River Hayes will not improve him much. He's only going to be up to position number 7. Oh, baby, those Team Watson Racing setups looking hot tonight. James Watson, Zach Scott Nicky, Thomas Lewandowski go 2, 3, 4 in qualifications for this race here this evening. I'll tell you what, Bizzle, if the speed in these race cars is as good in race trim as it is in qualifying, TWRS might be setting up to put a whooping on this field.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, seems like they've got some really fast equipment this week, and hopefully we're not just seeing short run pace out of these guys, because this is definitely going to be a long run race. These mile-and-a-half for Silver Crowns aren't usually caution fests, so hopefully going to see a flag-to-flag race here tonight.
We very well could. Strength of field 36-14. A monster SOF heading into tonight's race. Sidon's going nuts in the comments. Happy ream noises for Josh Batista, putting that number 20 on the pole position. 29.910 seconds. The car will be the 9 in your timing and scoring screens. James Watson, the number 39. Team Watson Racing Setups, National Racing Network. Martin Sports, number 6 in timing and scoring. Lining up on the outside, only 49 thousandths off of the pole time. Row number 2 will have the National Racing Network, ZAS Designs, Team Watson Racing Setups, number 12 of New York, Zach Scott Nicky, alongside of the Team Watson Racing Setups, Martin Sports, number 4 of Thomas Lewandowski. Row 3, the Street Side Classics, number 2 of Derek Love, 92 thousandths back. We still don't have a 10th in the top 5. Lining up alongside, out of the Great White North, the number 1 of Larry Pace. Row number 4 will have the Smiths, Team Watson Racing Setups, number 81 of River Hayes. Lining up alongside of the Deeds Farm, Driven to Save Lives, number 5 of Brandon Buckberger. Row 5 on the grid tonight, the Dizzy V Designs, Mane and Tail, Team Watson Racing Setups, number 98 of Vic Aldrich, lining up alongside of the Napa Auto Parts, Rockwell, North Carolina, number 94 of Jeffrey Stanton. Row 6, the TNT Racing, number 15 of Todd Taylor, alongside of the Team Watson Racing Setups, Boomer Button Boxes, number 16 of Scott Schroeder. Laura Gerhardt in the Kibu, number 10, lining up alongside of Brian Elmore on row number 7. Row 8 tonight will be Steve Costley and Steven Protzman. Row number 9, Joe Gauthier in the Spotify, number 13, alongside of Tommy Toe, in car number 11. Making up your 18-car grid as the field is making their way off of turn number 4. They'll be under the control of Josh Batista. Batista grabs the loud pedal. Away we go. Green flag in the air. 66-lap race here. 67-lap race at the Kentucky Speedway. Batista going to lead the field off into turn number 1. First side-by-side battle going to be Zach Scott Nicky and Thomas Lewandowski battling for third. Lap 1, 3 wide down the backstretch. It is Derek Love heading to the inside. Scott Nicky, he's not sure what to do. And quite frankly, I don't know that Lewandowski and Love know what to do with Scott Nicky. This is a new face at the front of the field here tonight, Bizzle, and sometimes that makes these guys a little bit nervous when you're driving around somebody you're not totally familiar with.
Yeah, especially in a community like this, it's usually the same guys running with each other week in, week out, especially front to back of the field. Usually you see someone move up a spot or two as their average season to season. But here tonight, there's a lot of new names here and a lot of new faces these guys will hopefully have to get used to.
Top 2 breaking away ever so slightly. Going to be 0.6 of a second. The gap now between James Watson in second, Thomas Lewandowski in third. Larry Pace battling alongside of River Hayes. That's 2 names that we're used to seeing up at the front of the field here, Bizzle, but something kind of makes me think maybe a little bit of tire conservation going on with these 2. At least initially, anyways, we're seeing Brandon Buckberger slot back up in line there as well on pace. If you're worried about the weather, which I think these guys are going to have to be, 88 degrees, barely a cloud in the sky. This track is going to get hot by the time this race is over.
Yeah, and as it gets hot, it's going to get slick. You're going to want to spin the car off the corner, and it's not going to want to turn at the beginning part of the corner. So this track is going to become very, very difficult to drive.
I love the comment from Sidon here. If you're that driver not used to being up front, it feels like playing with house money. Yeah, darn right it does. I've been that guy in a Silver Crown race or 2. Cruising around at Auto Club going, man, this is great. Everybody's wrecking out in front of me. And you get to a point where you're going, I don't want to screw up somebody's championship run, especially with a big SOF like we have tonight. But, man, you get up there, you want to battle and show what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And being up front there, even if you lose the lead, but if you get up to the lead and you're not really meant to be there, that's a great learning experience, learning how to take charge and quit needing to follow that rabbit. Because I'm a lot faster, I know, when I'm in second place and I have that leader to follow. But as soon as I get up to the lead, it seems like I lose half a second every lap. Like, where did it all go? I just had it.
Well, yeah, and speaking of, I feel like I just had it. Thomas Lewandowski doing that to James Watson here. Is the 39 machine going to fall back to the third position? And he'll be under attack from Derek Love as well in car number 2. This is where I think we're already starting to see a little bit of the tire management. Ordinarily, when you run at a racetrack, especially the 1.5 miles like this, you run the inside lane, you're going to be faster, but it's going to burn up a bunch of tires. Here on iRacing, the exact opposite is true. You can be faster in the middle lane, but you're going to eat up tires. You run that inside lane, you're going to find that maybe the car is a little bit slower, but gentler on the tires.
Zach Skotnicki having trouble finding his way down there. Where's that Larry Pace up there in the yellow car? Just not able to get into line.
That was Skotnicki up on the high side of the racetrack, and he's going to have River Hayes just to his inside. Larry Pace on the bottom, making that fight 3 wide. Oh, man, they're already getting tight on the corner, too. Yeah. Go on board here with River Hayes. And there you see James Watson just up ahead. We'll spin the camera around here. There's Skotnicki on the outside. Larry Pace, Brandon Buckberger down on the inside as they work their way through 3 and 4. You can see a little bit of slip angle there out of the car of Larry Pace. Car's starting to break loose on the exit of 4. So now most of the field here is packed up within about 2 seconds, all the way back to 11th place Laura Gerhardt in the lead pack. Then you're going to fall back to Brian Elmore. Then it'll be Steve Costley, Scott Schroeder, Vic Aldrich. We've got a battle for the race lead. Thomas Lewandowski looking outside of Josh Batista off of 2. I'll tell you what, Patrick, the more I see these guys battling side by side, this is almost starting to feel pack race-ish. And those don't typically end well because you're putting the car in places it doesn't want to be and having to use up a lot of that Hoosier rubber just trying to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, these things produce a ton of dirty air, and even though they don't look like it, they are pretty aerodynamically slick. You do have little winglets over the rear tires. So just losing that tiny little bit of downforce, 100, 200 pounds or so, that you were relying on a little bit, definitely makes these things very, very pushy.
7/100ths of a second separating your top 3 at the line that last time by. Oh, Lewandowski chops the front off of River Hayes ever so slightly. Oh, my goodness. We're getting excited out here at Kentucky Speedway already. And it's almost like if you're back where Lewandowski, Watson, and Skotnicki are, can you even save a little bit back here? Just say, look, I can run 2/3 throttle. I don't have to work the car real hard in the corners. You just take advantage of the big hole these things punch in the air.
Yeah, and you could just come off the throttle, save a little fuel, save a little bit of tire, or you could peek out and try and get some air over those tires and a little bit of downforce and use that to your advantage as well.
Peek out a little bit. River Hayes did. He slid way up to the outside, maybe caught a piece of the safer barrier, exiting turn number 4 that last time by. Watson getting a nice run off the corner, going to work on Lewandowski. And the early speed that the Team Watson cars showed in practice and qualifying, we're seeing it continue here in the race. But that may change as this race develops. Track temperature already up to 90 degrees and winds out of the west at 15 mile an hour. When you're driving a brick, that kind of a wind will absolutely wreak havoc with the car, either entry, middle, or exit of the corners.
Yeah, it's going to change how the car feels. These things aren't really like sails, but they are a little bit flat there on the side. So if you get wind just right, either on that fuel tank or on the nose, it's going to make the car either want to plow or it's going to want to spin it around.
Well, and we've talked about the fact that these things do not bump well with each other. It's a big snowplow on the front of it. Big old Kardashian bolt-ons, the aerodynamic devices on the front. The back end is basically a point. If you're going to make contact with somebody, whether to provide a bump draft or even just to try to move somebody up out of your way a little bit, you had better be squared up and doing it absolutely spot on.
Yeah, that very pointy fuel tank there in the back is just like a big wedge that as soon as you touch it the wrong way, it's going to pivot you right around.
Seeing everybody still on the racetrack as it stands right now. A little bit of a connection issue for Todd Taylor. That's that maroon-colored 15 car towards the back of the shot that we just saw. That car blinking in and out, having a little bit of a disappearing act once again here. The second pack has fallen significantly behind your race leaders, about 3 seconds back of even Laura Gerhardt running in the 11th position. Take a look back here at this second group. It's only 4 cars deep. Elmore, Costley, Schroeder, and Aldrich. So we will keep our eyes trained on the front of the field as things are getting a little bit hot and heavy here. We've only got 20 laps down. Still 48 laps to go.
Yeah, these things don't look like they're getting too squirrely yet, but that's because everyone's aware of saving. And just as I say that, Zach Skotnick, he seems like he's having to struggle with that car, getting up on the wheel, getting a little bit sideways.
Zach Evans checking in the comments here. My league race didn't end in time, and I wrecked a professional driver by stepping on it during said race. Ask me anything. Fire your questions away for Zach Evans. I'm going to ask which professional driver was it that you decided to junk out of a race?
Did he say any memorable quotes?
I don't know if he's talking Andy Jankowiak or Josh Berry. I'm not sure we can use the Josh Berry quote. But it is, let's see. We'll go with Andy J for right now.
I'm just going to put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
It's kind of what this race feels like tonight, quite frankly.
Fantastic.
Oh, it was Corey Heim that he wrecked. ARCA and NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series driver Corey Heim. And he was very understanding of my lack of talent. Yeah, it sounds about right. I know that feeling, Zach.
Happens to the best of us.
It's fun to watch here, Bizzle. We're seeing James Watson maintain pace with Brandon Buckberger and Larry Pace running the outside of the racetrack. Does it give you any concern that he is potentially burning the tires up, though, having to run that high lane?
Not a whole ton. This is 1.5 miles. It's not like a track like Bristol where you are wearing the tires ton, putting a ton of wheel into it. I would definitely say get back in line as soon as possible, but fighting here for 5-10 laps or so isn't going to kill him during this race.
Sign-on's checking in saying, it's okay. I also have Calais. Yes. Yeah, we'll take that one. Entering tonight's race, only one driver has 2 races counted inside. Actually, 2 drivers have 2 races counted inside the top 5 of the point standings. Thomas Lewandowski, 2 starts, 2 wins, 2 top 5s. He has led 91 of 163 laps completed entering tonight's race, holding a, oh gosh, I'm having to math here, 7-point lead over River Hayes. Brandon Buckberger, James Watson, Derek Love complete the top 5. We talked about the early season race at Iowa last week being a big SOF race and how important that was going to be come late in the season. We're seeing that again here in week number 2 with an SOF over 3,500. Does that change how you approach the race as a driver?
Not really, not especially not this early in the season. I can't say it does. The goal of every race is just try and finish up front and score as many points as you can. So I'm not sure I'm going to be approaching them any differently. It's like Mark Martin's season where he lost the championship. You could have looked at any race in that season. Where could I have gained 1 point here, 1 point there? You just run out there and run as best as you can.
Yep, we talked about it last season with, I don't remember if it was the crowds or the sprints, but we had a tie for 3rd overall in the season point standings. And it basically boiled down to who was going to get a better SOF. May have been the sprint cars, because those races will sometimes go official on Thursday as well. And drivers were actually jockeying because it's not like the NASCAR series or, C fixed or something like that where you say, hey, I'm going to run 10 or 12 races this week. You're only going to get 1 or 2 shots at it. In the SOF for the week, the Thursday night race could potentially be a higher SOF because you end up with fewer cars and it's all the kind of regulars that run the car a lot. That makes a big difference when you start talking about things come the end of the season.
Yeah, especially if they get a group of guys together. I mean, you only get 6 cars to make it official, but you pick out the top 6 highest guys. Maybe you grab a 7th from, I don't know, a NASCAR C-Fix driver. You pay $10 to show up, and he's got a 9,000 I rating. All of a sudden, you bump that strength of field way higher than this Monday night race.
Zach Evans saying, why does Bizzle hate me that much to bring up Mark Martin losing championships? Where do I send hate mail again? Ask and you shall receive. You can drop your hate mail to Bizzle at nationalracingnetwork.com. You may get a response.
I respond to each and every single one of them. On the front of that number 4 car of Thomas Lewandowski, though, looks like he's got a big old dent in the front of that thing from pushing around Larry Pace.
Well, let's take a look. We'll get you the close-up on that machine. Or at least
to the driver's side, or I guess the left-hand side of the car.
Driver's side,
on the bottom part of the lip.
Yeah,
maybe not. Maybe that might just be the paint scheme. No, it's definitely caved in a little bit there.
Yeah, and it's at a place like Kentucky, that makes a huge difference. What kind of hole the car is going to punch in the air.
Yeah, it does. This body kit they put on the Silver Crowns for the super speedways is meant to be pretty slick. It doesn't look very impressive, but you start messing with the little bits and pieces of it, and all of a sudden that thing is creating a huge low pressure zone or high pressure zone right there, just pulling up air and slowing that thing down.
Well, yeah, that's when it's almost like when you don't have much aero to work with, anything you lose is a big deal. I mean, it's why you see teams would massage on race cars that were going to Daytona for speed weeks. They would spend months working on that car because outright speed was the most important thing you had at Daytona. Oh, it was Derek Love, big sideways off at 2 that time. Working lap number 34. Cross flags are up at the start-finish line. We are halfway home in a race that has gone caution-free. Only 17 minutes, 30 seconds to this point to get this race halfway in the books. Larry Pace is your race leader. He's led 2 laps. Josh Batista led 11 right from the jump. Derek Love leading 20 circuits to this point. So no definitive winner of the most laps led award. Taking a look at the positions gain chart, it's going to be Larry Pace on that one too. He is up 5. Hayes, Buckberger, Lewandowski, and Love completing the top 5 there, and they are all up inside the top 5 of the race as well. First car that will go 1 lap down is Tommy Toe. He's about 17 and a half seconds back of your race leaders. They may catch him with just a couple of laps remaining. Based on the pace they're running right now, it's only about half a second a lap, and we're down to now 31 laps to go. Simon, I'm going to agree with you on this one in a very big way. Would be nice to see Jeffrey Stanton have a good night. He needs one. Yes, he does. Some personal stuff going on for Jeffrey. We're sending you a lot of love, brother. I won't say any more than that, but iRacing can make a great distraction from the real world that we live in and deal with on a day-to-day basis. And it's always good when that distraction is a fun one that you do well in as well.
Yes, it is. iRacing is fantastic for taking up large amounts of times out of your day and definitely distracting from the real world.
And eating lots of money if you let it. I am speccing out new sim racing hardware, and my God, have the prices changed on that since I last bought hardware.
And you only upgraded, what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
The last time I actively shopped for sim racing hardware was the Clinton administration.
Oh, wheel hardware. Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, computer hardware may be coming too with the updates that iRacing has done. As Larry Pace heads down to the apron to get inside of Lewandowski. That's a gutsy call.
Work for him. I think that's going to pay off, though.
Man, these guys are really starting to get squirrely now. Make me nervous. They were loose off of turn 2 that time. We heard in the pre-race that turn 4 could actually be the trouble spot. And you wonder if that was a little bit of Larry Pace trying something. Going, can I make this stick? If you have to do it with 1 or 2 laps to go instead of on the white flag lap. 2 or 3 laps to go instead of the white flag lap.
Yeah, and he made it stick coming across the stripe. So, I mean, that could work on the white flag lap, too.
The big difference, though, is the longer we get running in this race, the more difficult I think that move becomes. The back end wants to step out more. The tires are obviously going to be toast, but you're also talking about losing a lot of weight off the back end of the race car.
Yeah, I wouldn't keep trying that move. It's definitely risky, definitely gutsy. I wouldn't do it every lap, but try and make something stick going in the one, it could work out for you.
Now, interesting what we're seeing start to shape up here, Bizzle. The top 3 are running nose to tail, behaving themselves nicely. 4, 5, 6 were kind of side by side and battling a little bit. The gap started to open up. Now that they've gotten back in line again, the gap's closing in, but we're seeing this lead pack start to break up ever so slightly. Todd Taylor, Zach Skotnicki, Laura Gerhardt, they're falling off the back end of this fight for the race lead and inside the top 5.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the guys who were saving at the beginning are all the way up there at front, and with the exception of Lewandowski, it doesn't look like there's another TWRS car up front, so definitely they had a short-run setup in those cars.
Quite possibly. James Watson running in the 7th position. He is a TWRS car. Scott Nicky in 10th. Aldrich in 13th. Scott Schroeder in 14th right now. And keeping an eye on that lap traffic. Now, Tommy Toe is a pretty respectful driver, so I'm not necessarily going to say he's going to make life difficult on your race leaders, but it is something you have to contend with, that you're eventually going to catch up to lap traffic. We got Nate Hauser checking in saying, let's spend Buckburger's money and get that car in victory lane. I love it. Let's do it. The Driven to Save Lives Challenge is on once again this season for Brandon Buckburger. $100 for a win? Or $50 for a win? I think 50 for a win. $10 for a second place finish. $5 for a third place finish. He doubled that money up to $100 last season. Now he's going to try to do it again this season, as Pace and Lewandowski will be side by side for the lead to turn 1.
Such a cool thing he's doing.
A fantastic organization that was founded after Justin Wilson's passing in an IndyCar race at Pocono, and then it really got legs. Oh, wait, hold up. Caution flag is out. Trouble on the racetrack, and it may be Zach Scott Nicky that's involved in this one. Let's take a look here on the NRN replay. Scott Nicky pushes high off of turn number 2. Little slide. Oh, and big contact with Laura Gerhardt. Gerhardt spins down huge into the inside wall.
Gerhardt just wrong place, wrong time right there.
Yeah, that is a tough break for Laura Gerhardt. Let's take a look at this replay one more time here and see the big hit that Laura Gerhardt took. Tries to get out of the way, big time airborne. And that car is junk, unfortunately. So we'll go back to the live look here, and we'll pick up our race leader, Thomas Lewandowski. Jordan Fuller checking in, saying, I love racing. I do too, man. Especially getting to do this stuff hanging out on a Monday night. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays this season. Sign on saying, that was violent. 2 cases of wrong place, wrong time. I don't know about 2. Laura Gerhardt, definitely. Zach Scott Nicky looked like the car started to push on corner exit, and then you get that snap oversteer. So you're push until it snaps loose, and that's ultimately what he was fighting there off of turn 2 that time.
Yeah, and that's what we said before. Once this track gets hot, it's not going to turn. All of a sudden, hey, turning sounds like a really great idea right now.
Well, and how about the weather conditions here? 93-degree track temperature. We're seeing James Watson trying to do some tire cooling down there on the apron. We're up almost 10 degrees in track temperature from where we started this race. That is a huge deal for these cars, especially down now to 18 to go. This time they come past the start-finish line.
Yeah, these guys, if you haven't been saving before, it's a little late now.
Zach Scott Nicky checking in saying, Walt does not feel safe. Yeah, I'd agree with that one. Safer barrier. It might be a little bit safer than hitting concrete, but it still hurts. The steel and foam energy reduction barrier. That's what SAFER stands for. It is 4-inch by 4-inch steel box tubing welded together to make a wall, stack them up on top of each other, make a wall out of it, that then has foam blocks that are lined up behind it. The whole idea is that the wall will give, the steel will give a little bit, The foam will dissipate a lot of the energy, and it will reduce the amount of energy that gets transferred to the drivers. It has been the single biggest, I'll say tied, for single biggest advancement in racing in the last 25 years with the Hans device.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, in the last 20 years alone, there's been more advancements in safety in racing than the previous history of it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The halos and aero screens that we see in F1 and IndyCar are, quite frankly, huge. Actually, interesting comment here that Sinon is bringing up. Only thing that absorbs more impacts than that are tire barriers. That's not really accurate. The safer barrier will absorb more energy than a tire barrier will. The problem with the safer barrier is it is a permanent installation. It's not something that you can set up like on a street course and have that for the drivers to hit instead of tires. If you have to build temporary tire barriers or the Tech Pro system that they use in F1, those are better options, or the only options really, as compared to the safer barrier. Safer barrier coming out of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the University of Nebraska. That was not a NASCAR invention. But between the University of Nebraska and Michigan State University, the world of higher education has changed the safety game in NASCAR. Michigan State, obviously, where I think it's Bob Hubbard. I think Bob's his first name. Dr. Hubbard, who designed the safer barrier. That's where he was a researcher out of. Following this battle here with Josh Batista and James Watson fighting for position number 6. They've fallen back pretty significantly from our race leaders as we're down here to now 14 laps to go. There's kind of falling back here from your top 4. Brandon Buchberger may be thinking about a move here on Derek Love. And quite frankly, anytime these two are nose to tail in the Silver Crowns, you have to pay attention.
Yes, something's going to happen. It's like fireworks every time these drivers are near each other.
Gunpowder and lead is what I would describe these two as. That they are something is going to happen when you put them together. And it's not necessarily one driver's fault or the other. They're two guys that race hard and do not give each other an inch to play with.
No, where's that Andy Jankowiak quote?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now Larry Pace running a little bit higher line through 1 and 2 that time. Getting down to the nitty-gritty of this race, I would tend to think the moves are going to have to start happening soon. I don't know that it's one of those deals that you can try the pass with 1 to go unless you get the great run off at turn 4 and you think you can make that apron dive work for you.
Yeah, that's going to have to be the perfect setup if you want to get under the apron for the lead, which Lewandowski knows he can do it now, and he's going to try to block it.
Larry Pace
might not have to, though.
I was going to say, Larry Pace looking inside of Lewandowski for the lead, this time through 3 and 4. Buchberger cleared Derek Love off at turn 2 this time by. And if these 4 really get to fighting each other with now 10 laps to go, that could close a bunch of other cars up here. Don't look now. River Hayes, a dominant force in these cars in the past. He's lurking back there in the 5th position. And we have had a race where Lewandowski, Buchberger, and Love have been upside down and on fire last season, and one of them still won the race.
Yeah, that was at the season finale, wasn't it?
No, I think there was a couple of, maybe next to last race of the season. Whatever it was, I think it was Chicagoland is vaguely sticking out in my head for some reason, but it was 1.5 miles, and they went, yeah, we can fit 3 here. And then 3 rapidly turned into 3 cars within about a car width and a half.
Yeah, they could not fit through there.
Of note, the gap to River Hayes continues to expand. It's up to 1.5 seconds. Derek Love backs out of the 3-wide look into turn number 1 that time by, as Buckberger may lose 2 positions here. Oh, baby, he got a big twitch off in turn number 2 that time. He'll have to tuck back up in line. Could this be one of those races where we see the guy in 3rd get the best run of the night and possibly steal a win?
I'm definitely not taking it out of the question. I mean, these 2 up front are battling really hard, but so are the 2 behind them. Buckberger kind of just sitting back. I almost wonder if he's waiting for the sneak attack now that Derek Love is kind of playing with these guys up front here.
Well, there's no better way to heal bad blood than to start racing each other for a win instead of racing each other for 3rd. Oh, as the caution flag's out with 7 to go! Yellow is out for the 2nd time tonight, and it looks like it may be trouble for Josh Batista. He did say he could yard sale a race car tonight. Let's see what happens here off of turn number 2. Oh, scrapes the wall. Big hit to the inside concrete retaining wall. How in the world did Jeffrey Stanton not get a piece of that?
Yeah, that was close.
Take a look at the replay one more time and go on board with Jeffrey Stanton. Oh, man, Stanton almost wrecked it himself, too. Oh, my goodness. So now with 6 to go, we're going to do the quick math. I think we'll get a restart with 3 to go. No, might be. Let's see. 4 to go, so pits are open this time by for lead lap cars. Pits will be open next time by for lap down cars. So that'll put you to 4 to go. And then they'll get the 1 to green. So I think with 3 laps to go, we'll get a restart here.
I just want to say, I love the cheesy little, like, auto parts store trailer light they have mounted to the dash of these things to let the drivers know they're under caution.
Let's take a look here. We'll go on board the cockpit view here. See, Bizzle, we need to get you your telestrator back. You need to be able to draw on the screen for these things. On board here with race leader Thomas Lewandowski. And there it is. It's basically...
That's exactly what it is. It's like your Walmart brand, like, auto parts store, just generic trailer light.
You can even see the wire hooked out of it and the grommet that the wire is plugged into.
I think I've bought one of those for like a 1992 like Isuzu truck just to bring it back up to legal spec.
A 1990s Isuzu. That'll be the next car that Bizzle will be purchasing here.
God, don't tempt me.
So, lights are still on the iRacing safety cars. They get to the exit of pit lane. So, like I said, I think there's 4 to go. So, next time by, when they get the 1 to go signal, it will be 3 to go. So, the green flag will fly with 2 laps remaining. I almost think at this point, this is Thomas Lewandowski's race to lose unless Larry Pace can get an absolutely incredible restart. Because I just don't see how you can make up the ground. It's going to take you a lap to catch them, and then at least another lap to pass them.
Yeah. Unless you get a really, really, really killer restart.
Or you have Derek Love and Brandon Buckberger just pushing you all the way around the racetrack. Zach Evans, what in the lemons is going on here? Le Mans. No joke, Zach. I'm considering buying an MX-5 or an old Miata, something like that. Something that I could run spec Miata with. Eventually.
I would love to see you try and fit in a Miata. I don't fit in a Miata.
Oh my God, you're calling out the fat guy. What is wrong with you?
Not even that. Just the height, the tallness.
I was going to say, I am 6'1". I think Miatas are kind of like the Mercury space capsule. You could be no taller than 5'7".
Yeah. The last Miata I sat in, my head sticks out over the convertible top. I couldn't drive this thing with the top up.
Should I buy a Miata? Let us know in the comments. Who's your pick to win? And should I buy Miata or should I buy a Jag? I kind of want to get an old Jag convertible.
I think your wife would leave you.
She might. Lights are out on the iRacing safety car. We're getting ready to go back to green flag racing with 2 to go. Oh, and Derek Love's pushing Larry Pace. Buckberger's right there. They're all sorts of out of whack here coming to the line. Oh, one car swings way down to the inside. Green flag back in the air. We're underway for a green-white checker shootout here in Kentucky. Looked like that may have been Steven Protzman getting basically just dumped down to the inside. It was a great start for Lewandowski, but Pace is going to have a huge run. Buckberger chasing down D-Love as well. If they get to the line, the next flag will end it. White flag is in the air, 1 to go. Pace about 4 car lengths back at the start-finish line. Cuts it down to 3 by the time they get to turn 1. The gap continues to decrease all the way through the corner. Pace with a great run off the corner. A little bit of a bobble there. We'll see if that costs him. Lewandowski holding on to the lead thus far, but Pace continues to catch. Is he going to grab some gravity and head to the apron? Off at turn number 4. Checkered flag in the air. Pace makes the move, but it's Lewandowski getting the win at Kentucky. Larry Pace comes home second by 3/100ths of a second, and Derek Love will round out your podium finishers by just over 1/4 of a second. What a race for the iRacing Silver Crown Cup. As Thomas Lewandowski has already said, I'm out of here. Gets it down to the apron off at 2. Gets the car off the racetrack, and we have John Prather is checking in. Lewandowski, Silver Crown GOAT. If he isn't the GOAT, he is one of them. Especially in, I will say, modern era Silver Crowns here on iRacing. We'll talk about that here in just a minute, but first, let's get you your official race results. 35,000 separating Lewandowski and Pace at the line. We mentioned Derek Love rounding out the podium. Brandon Buckberger and James Watson complete the top 5. 6 through 10 tonight, River Hayes, Jeffrey Stanton, Todd Taylor, Scott Schroeder, and Vic Aldrich. That makes a handful of Watson cars inside the top 10. Good run for that team here tonight. Second page of the leaderboard will have Brian Elmore, Steve Cosley, Tommy Toe, Joe Gauthier, Steven Protzman, and Josh Batista. Zach Scott-Nicky and Laura Gerhardt going out just after the midpoint of tonight's race. So we'll get ready to talk to our race winner and, quite frankly, the entire podium here tonight. We'll start things off. Let's see. First, we got to go this way. And we'll slow the replay down here and we will get ready to talk to our race winner here tonight, Mr. Thomas Lewandowski. And Thomas, congratulations. I would imagine you were a little bit excited to see that caution, just knowing you would be able to control the restart and life would be difficult on everybody else trying to chase you.
Yeah, that was definitely convenient timing there because when you're a leader with the restart advantage, it takes like 2 laps just to, for second place to catch up to you. So I pretty much just had to not screw up on the restart and the final 2 laps there. And I knew it would be hard for Larry and those guys to catch me.
Yeah, and it seemed like as the race developed, the track got significantly warmer, hitting a top of 93 degrees at the checkered flag. How much did that impact the race car and how it drove tonight?
It kind of, like, for me at least, it didn't really change all that much. It kind of balanced the car, actually, because as I was burning the fuel off, it kind of, helped with that. But I had to work the weight tracker a little bit, especially because 1-2, like off of turn 2 is, so much tighter than off of turn 4. So I was kind of going back and forth most of the race, on the weight tracker between the 2 corners a little bit, just to balance the car out, which makes it hard because I don't know how many laps there is to go or nothing, because I got time to flip back to look.
Yeah, I guess when you're dealing with guys chasing you and everything else, it kind of makes it difficult. Even just a glance at the relative doesn't help you all that much. You know who's there in line behind you.
Yeah, the only saving grace is on my wheel I have a rotary thing that makes it easier for me to change the weight jacker and stuff. But yeah, when you're side by side and trying to change weight jacker before the corner, and it gets a little bit much sometimes. But I usually don't do it. But I had to bust out my multitasking skills today for it.
Well, I tell you what, you did a fantastic job of it. Congratulations. I'm going to check the numbers here officially, but yeah, 3 starts, 3 wins in official races this season. A dominant performance. Congratulations on it. And before we let you go, get all those sponsor plugs and shout outs in for us.
Just, I got to thank you guys and all my friends over at the draw. Larry finished second and we raced pretty good, during the race here. It's kind of sad we didn't get the race, for it at the end, but him, Bob, John, Marcus, all those guys, help me out, support me. So, and just thanks again to you guys.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate the kind words from you. And now it's time to talk to our second place finisher, Mr. Larry Pace. And I'll tell you what, Larry, as much as Thomas was probably thrilled with the yellow flag coming out when it did, I would imagine pretty frustrating for you knowing how difficult it would be to make up any ground on that restart.
A little bit. I really wasn't completely sure how it was going to go down. I know it was going to take the previous restart. It took me a couple laps to actually get up to Tom, but it kept the guys behind me further back too. So I was like, worst case, probably get second here. And before the caution, the top 4 were all over each other. I didn't know what was going to happen there. So not too frustrated, just kind of rolled with the punches there and got the best restart I could, even though we were all jacked up, and got a good last corner there, but just needed another lap to try to do something. I'm not sure I would have been able to complete that pass on Tom.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, jammed up, jelly tight coming to that restart. You had Derek pushing you, Brandon pushing him. Any concern that pushing goes wrong and you end up spun off down into the infield somewhere?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As soon as it started happening, I had to key up and tell Tom on TeamSpeak, like, I'm being pushed, like hang on to it. I didn't want him to think I was the one driving into the back of him, but everybody just lost their mind on that last restart. So, but we kept it all straight. Everybody lived, so it was good.
Well, it was a great race you guys put on for us tonight. Thank you very much for it. And do all the sponsor plugs and shout outs before we let you go here.
Yeah, of course. So thanks to you guys. As always, huge thanks to Thomas Lewandowski for the setup once again. Would not race these if it wasn't for his graciousness giving me these setups. And always awesome to have a close finish with Tom. There's no one I'd rather lose to on the service than Thomas Lewandowski. Everybody at the drill aisle, and that's everybody.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us up here in the booth. And now it's time for us to talk to our third place finisher tonight, Mr. Derek Love. And I tell you what, Derek, it seemed like things were getting a little bit spicy there on that final restart. What was going through your head? Because you're getting pushed from behind. You're trying to square up on Larry, not wreck your own car. There was a lot, even it looks like a little bit of damage on the front end after all that.
Oh, I don't know if there was any damage, man. That could have happened anywhere. We were driving it hard. Man, it was a fun race. I apologize to Larry, man. I know I was getting into his bumper. I felt like I was getting maybe a little bit from behind, or at least anticipated that coming from behind. Thomas went a little later, and he did the time before, but we all survived. Really bummer about that last caution, because that as soon as that happened, I was like, well, that's that. We're gonna get maybe one shot at this. Just by the time everyone gets momentum up and everything, it's just not usually there. So it really felt like it was all four of us had a chance at it coming to the checkered there if it would have went green. But we put on a good show, man. That had been a blast to watch.
It was a ton of fun to watch you guys duking it out up front. And now for week number 3, we're going to head off to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Third, completely different kind of racetrack in the first 3 weeks of the season. What are your thoughts as we head there? Because from what we've seen, New Hampshire is especially affected by the weather changes and the Tempest system that iRacing has introduced.
My thoughts are I don't even remember what I ran here or ran there before. It's not a track I ran a lot at. I usually only run this car and the sprint car, and we don't go there in the sprint car really. So it's really just running it in this, and I can't think of the last time, maybe 1 or 2 times. So it's not one I got a lot of experience at, but man, it's we do pretty good some of them flat mile tracks like that. So we'll see what kind of show we can put on, man. And I've been trying to find some speed lately. I've been running a little slow. Trying to just go back to the basics a little bit, I guess, and get with the babes back at the shop, put our head down, and just start grinding on the car and see if we can't put it back up front again.
All right, buddy. Well, congratulations on a solid podium finish here and a big SOF night. And before we let you go, do all those sponsor plugs and shout-outs for us.
Yeah, shout out to you guys putting this on, and the Street Sides Classics machine. And we'll see you again soon.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. Once again, we appreciate you coming to hang out with us, and we'll go back to the scenic views of Kentucky Speedway. And man, Bizzle, that was about as fun of a race as I think you're going to see on one of these 1.5 mile tracks.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky used to be an awesome track. It still is a fun track to go to. I'm not sure if it's on the NASCAR calendar this year, though. Was it this track or Kansas they took off the schedule?
Well, yeah,
or
it
both.
it was this one. They go to Kansas twice. Kentucky Speedway has not been on the schedule for a couple of years now, and it just, man, it kills me that this place is basically sitting to rot, because always put on a good show.
Yeah, Kentucky was one of the better 1.5 miles. Kansas, too, was another one of the really fun ones. You have to go to Charlotte, but I think Charlotte and all the other ones that look like Charlotte, the cookie cutters, absolutely suck. I'm really happy with what they did to Atlanta, because it made it different.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Checking the Wikipedia page, and yes, Kentucky Speedway is now inactive completely, which is just a travesty.
It's a storage facility for Ford trucks waiting for computer chips.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But either way, good show tonight out of the Silver Crowns. This one was a fun one. Coming up tomorrow night, we will have another doubleheader. It will be the iRacing Sprint Car Cup visiting South Boston Speedway. 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time will be the start time on that one. Following it up at 9:45 Eastern, it'll be the TNT Shock Series visiting the New Hampshire Motor Speedway Roval. A fantastic road course for the PM18 car. Doesn't require huge amounts of downforce, but it's tricky, it's technical, and kind of everything you would want in a Roval. And then on Thursday night, I guess at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the USF Pro Championship does their first of 2 oval races for the season, heading off to USA International. That is, again, another just great track for the PM18s. We're looking forward to bringing all of it to you right here on the National Racing Network. For Patrick Byrne and everybody else here that gets these shows on the air, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we'll talk to you all soon. Have a great night, everybody.